Alright, so the year is coming to an end, so I think it's only fitting we talk about cards you have to pick up for the early 2024 meta. Decks, cards, and stuff that I just think it's important to invest in to start the year off right. So if you like the video, make sure to like it. And also don't forget that the Sleeve Sheath Black Friday sale is still going on and you can get extra 5% on top of the 20% off with my code SHADOW. So don't forget to use it if you shop there and you get some early Christmas presents maybe. Also, for all of you out there that like my little wrestling bits on the channel, let me know if you enjoyed Survivor Series last night because I am still super excited about it. So I would love to read about your thoughts in the comments down below as well. So getting started with the first couple of cards, it's actually 2 deck cores that I think are important to have because to me they don't feel like they're going to be hit, at least one of them 100%, and the other one is cheap regardless, so it's not like you're negging a ton. And I'm talking about Mannadium as well as Labyrinth. If we take a look at the OCG, Labyrinth is this sort of counterweight to the meta right now because they have Fire Kings, they have Ritual decks, Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace is still really strong, and I feel like it's a smart investment because the cards are really cheap. The only one that's a little more expensive is the Big Welcome Labyrinth, but it's kind of tricky because if the deck doesn't get hit, the card might go up in price, and already it's about 20 euros. So if you're trying to invest in a control deck, I think Labyrinth would be the correct choice. And speaking of deck cores, I mentioned Mannadium as well. There is the fear of some decks being hit on the ban list, and decks that are sort of like below the top decks in the meta right now are immediately going to become more popular, and it's just going to be kind of tough to get cards from Cyberstorm Access and stuff. So if you take a look at Caladium right now, it's at an all-time low. It's around 20 euros on average per 1 copy, but still, that's like the majority of the money you're spending for your deck. And then there's a couple other cards you have to invest into. But if you already have some generic Synchro Monsters, and not to mention that Baron just got a reprint, so you're not spending an extra 100 euros for that card, I think this deck is a really smart investment right now. It's really fun to play and seems like a really strong contender. It's just that it's a little, I guess, overshadowed by Infernoble right now. But I don't think that's the biggest issue. If some decks get hit, I think this deck is going to become really, really popular. So you might want to be ahead of the curve and invest into it right now. And then moving on to a couple solo cards. Now this one is going to be kind of sad to talk about, but I think you have to invest into SP to be competitive in 2024. It's literally 100 euros separating you from going to that next level to really be prepared for the meta, because SP is just such a vital card right now. It is able to break boards, it puts extra disruption on the board, and it's just so easy to go into it and start baiting your opponent's cards without actually committing too much of your own engine. So I think SP is just the MVP of 2023, and it's going to translate into 2024 as well. So if you have some extra money lying around, I would invest into SP, preferably even 2 copies if you can, but like getting 1 I think is going to be plenty. Next up we have Cosmic Cyclone. This one is just really simple. It's literally like a couple cents. Just get a playset and have it ready, because if Centurion becomes more popular, this is one of the top cards to counter it, because their Fuse spell is just doing so much for the archetype, and you can use it during your turn to cut off their plays, and it's just so important to prevent their synchro stuff during your turn, because even if the lock gets hit on the ban list, I think people are still going to be trying things out with Centurion. It always happens with decks coming out of side sets. I don't know, I feel like if people invest into Centurion, they're gonna want to make it work just because they spent the money. So just have Cosmic Cyclone ready, hit the Fuse spell and just be done with it, and it's really cheap. So like if you don't already own a playset, which you probably do, just get some Cosmic Cyclones. And moving on to an engine, I think you need to invest into Sinful Spoils. Look, it always happens. Konami prints something relatively cheap, usually that's going to be a structure deck, and then you're going to have to invest into extra stuff. If you remember Salamangreat, you had to invest into Sunlight Wolf, which for a rare card was around 10 euros or even more, and you had to have 3 copies, which of course that's 30 euros, and the Sinful Spoil stuff is like 300 euros. But still, if you get 3 structure decks, and I'm of course talking about the Fire King stuff, I think you're going to be able to be competitive with that particular deck for months. So the only investment you have to make is the Sinful Spoil stuff, and you can actually use it in so many different decks. Infernoble, Mikanko, of course Rescue Ace, and I don't know, you kind of just have to bite the bullet and get it, I think. And if you take a look at the cards, they are going up in price. Like every single chart is showcasing this, what it is going up. The Abelastar is kind of like settled at around 20 euros, but still some Rescue Ace builds actually play 3 copies, so you may want to think about that as well. The original Sinful Spoils is around, it's around 2 euros or 3, which is fine, but then you need to think about the extra stuff as well. Mainly, I'm talking about the Flamberge Dragon. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's a secret rare from Age of Overlord. It's around 3 euros, but it is going up in price because it's a secret rare that nobody really wanted. But right now, you can play usually 1 copy in some Fire King builds because it lets you extend into different types of combos with that deck. And, you may want to spend 3 euros now as opposed to 2 or 3 or 4 times as much in the future. Another card that's like clearly sense, I think, because it's super rare, is the Snake Eye Ash. And with Bonfire coming out in Maze of Millennia, this card is the primary target for Bonfire. And right now, if you take a look at some of the builds of Fire Kings, they are playing Bonfire, obviously, but we don't have it yet. So you also want to invest into Tenki, because right now you're trying to search for your Beast Warrior with the help of Tenki, and some OCG builds actually play Bonfire as well as Tenki, and then some of them also cut Tenki later. But if you invest into some secret rares right now, they're like 1 to 2 euros, and they're actually really pretty looking versions that are going up in price. So if you want to play the deck as soon as possible, because it's going to be released in a couple weeks, then I personally would rather play with a pretty looking Tenki as opposed to like a common. So that's entirely up to you, but I'm just saying get all of this, because then you only need to spend for the structure deck and you have a competitively viable deck, which, like I said, you can play for months on end. And for the last card, I want to talk about Phantasme. It's really funny because Phantasme was so bad for so long now. Like every single meta just had synchro decks, fusion decks, and just Phantasme was obviously nowhere to be seen. But if you go on Card Market, TCG Player, whatever, and take a look at Phantasme right now, every single copy is around 2 to 3 euros, and they are going up. Even the super rare ones. But if you wait any further, I think they're gonna go even higher. Unchained, Rescue Ace, also Fire King to an extent, like so many decks right now, Infernoble as well. They are going to go into Link Monsters, even if the Link Monsters aren't the primary thing the deck is trying to do. Rescue Ace is a good example of that. But they're trying to Link Summon because they want to go into like, extended combos to play around stuff, etc. And you want to have Phantasme because we're in a hand shop heavy meta. So you're actually drawing into viable cards. That wasn't always the case. And if you remember, of course, we've been shifting from board breakers to hand traps back and forth. But right now, it is so important to play hand traps and you want to draw into them with Phantasme. Another thing, and I talked about that already on the channel, if I'm not mistaken, but it's a really good SP out because it SP targets. Phantasme deals with that, and also as a body on the field, it's going to be able to beat over it if you're able to get to that point. So I think Phantasme is really strong. You may want to side it, or almost 100% you're going to want to side it moving forward. So please get it as soon as possible. And that's pretty much going to be it. We covered a couple decks, a couple important cards for your side deck or main deck, as well as the Sinful Spoils engine, which please get it before it's too late because it's going to become even more expensive. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it. Use my code Shadow if you're shopping at Steve Sheave. Let me know your Survivor Series thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.